If you're interested in glowing up, then I'm Celeste Louw, and this is Brave Enough. You did everything right. You reached out, you spoke up, you followed the steps, and still it didn't feel the way you thought it would. No one really tells you about this part, the part where you've done the brave thing and you're still sitting with yourself, feeling unsettled. I know that space because I've sat in it. So let's talk about that. This isn't about blame. I've worked in these spaces. I've sat with survivors. I've seen the system from the inside, and I've lived parts of it from the outside. I know the intention behind support systems, but there is a difference between support existing and you actually feeling supported inside it. And that gap, that's where a lot of us have been. Because when you finally say something, when you finally stop carrying it alone, you expect something to shift. You expect to feel lighter, like, okay, I did it. Now things will start to get better. I remember thinking that. I remember believing that the moment I spoke up, something inside me would settle, that there would be relief, healing. And when it didn't, that confused me more than anything, because no one tells you that you can do the right thing and still feel unsettled. I remember the night that I left, that moment when everything in me said, this is it. One of us is going to die. This is the turning point. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. It was a decision that had been building for a long time. I remember the thoughts, the back and forth, the questioning, the can I actually do this? The what happens next? The fear sitting right next to the knowing. And then I left. And I thought that would be the moment everything changed. I thought I would feel relief, clarity, freedom. But what I actually felt was everything at once: fear, uncertainty, adrenaline, and then quiet. A kind of quiet that forced me to sit with myself in a way that I never had before. The quiet where all the bad stuff comes up first. Healing is not a moment, it's a process, and processes are not always comfortable. You're asked questions, you're guided through steps. Things have to follow a process, and I understand why that exists. But what that looks like on the ground is very different to how it feels when you're in it. Because you don't just tell your story once, you tell it again and again and again. Different people, different rooms, different formats. And every time you have to find the words again. You have to remember details. You have to stay consistent. You have to make sense of something that didn't make sense when it happened. And there's another layer to it. People expect your story to make sense. They expect a beginning, a middle, and an end. They expect you to explain it clearly, to remember accurately, to give details in a way that flows. But trauma doesn't work like that. Trauma memories are not neat. They're messy. They don't line up in order. They don't always come back as full stories. Sometimes they come back in fragments, in flashes, in feelings, in moments that don't connect properly. And now you're sitting there trying to turn something fragmented into something structured, trying to make sense when it didn't make sense to live through. And while that might be part of a process, for you, it's not just a process, it's a reliving, it's a reopening. It's sitting there trying to stay composed while your body is reacting in ways you can't always control. And there's an unspoken expectation in those moments that you present your experience clearly, that you stay grounded, that you don't contradict yourself, that you are credible. And no one says it like that, but you can feel it. You feel the pressure to get it right, to say it in a way that makes sense, to not be too emotional, but also not too detached, to not leave things out, but also not get lost in it. And suddenly you're not just telling your story, you're performing it, trying to make sure it lands the way it needs to, trying to make sure you're understood, trying to make sure you are believed. And that is exhausting. I remember sitting in those moments, answering questions and thinking, I'm saying the words, but I'm not okay. I remember sitting with that and thinking, why am I not okay? That question kept coming up. I've done the work. I've faced it. I've made the hard decisions. So why am I not okay? And I realized something in that moment. I hadn't been carrying what happened to me. I had been carrying what I believed about myself because of it. The labels, the way I spoke to myself, the way I diminished my own experience. I had learned to live with it, but I hadn't changed the way I saw myself inside it. And that's a different kind of work. Because it's one thing to leave a situation, it's another thing to stop living as the version of you that was shaped inside it. And that's what's confronting, because I could see it. The way I would catch myself thinking, you should be over this by now. The way I would minimize my own progress. The way I would still treat myself like I was the problem. And that's when it shifted for me. Not all at once, but enough to see it. That I wasn't just healing from what happened. I was unlearning how I'd come to see myself because of it. And that takes time. And while you're doing all of that internal work, there's another layer, the expectations. The expectations that you'll take it all the way, that you will bring your abuser to justice, that you will push through no matter what it costs you, as if your healing is measured by how far you take the fight. And if you choose not to, if you choose safety or space or something quieter, it can feel like you're being questioned again. Then that's the expectation to reconcile, to forgive, to make peace in a way that makes other people comfortable, as if closure has to look a certain way. And then there's the expectation that you will be okay, that you will bounce back, that you will be strong, that you will not let it affect you too much. Because when you're not okay, it makes other people uncomfortable. And that discomfort sometimes gets handed back to you. So now you're not just carrying your experience, you're carrying expectations about how you should handle it. And that's heavy, because for so many survivors, control was taken away. And the last thing you need is to lose control again in the process of trying to reclaim your life. Whether you choose to lay charges or choose not to, whether you fight for justice or you choose safety first, whether you move forward or step back to protect yourself, those are your decisions. That is your journey. There is no one path that makes you more valid. There is no one choice that makes you more strong. What matters is that it's your choice, because systems are processes and procedures. They are not human. They don't feel what you feel. They don't move at the pace your healing needs. You are not a questionnaire of check boxes. And if you don't understand that, you will make their limitations mean something about you. Maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm not enough. We are quick to blame ourselves for what we were never taught to carry, because now you're not just going through something, you're looking at yourself through it. Am I too much? Am I not strong enough? Am I doing this wrong? And those thoughts, they don't just pass, they settle in. They become the way you see yourself. So this isn't just about the process, it's about you and how you see yourself inside it. Because if you see yourself as broken, you will experience everything through that lens. And I want you to picture this. A caterpillar doesn't just grow wings, it goes into a cocoon. And inside that cocoon, it breaks down completely. And if you don't understand the process, you think something has gone wrong, but it hasn't. It's the becoming. Sometimes breaking down is the only way through. And that's what this can feel like. You letting go of how you saw yourself, the beliefs you carried, the identity you built to survive. And that doesn't feel freeing at first. It feels like losing yourself, because now you're in the in between. You're not who you were, but you're not fully who you're becoming yet. And that space is uncomfortable. Growth asks you to sit in spaces you would rather run from. So what does that mean? It means no system can do all of it. It can support, it can guide, it can hold structure, but your relationship with yourself, that's yours. How you speak to yourself, how you hold yourself, how you make sense of your own experience, that's where your power is. It's not about lowering your expectations. It's about understanding them, knowing where support fits and where your own work begins. You are allowed to say, this was harder than I thought. You are allowed to feel like it didn't feel the way you expected, without turning that into something being wrong with you. You are not broken. You are becoming. You did something incredibly hard. You spoke up. You stepped forward. You chose not to stay silent. And even if it didn't feel the way you thought it would, that doesn't take anything away from that. So maybe the question isn't, why didn't this fix everything? Maybe it's, what do I need now to keep walking this through? And more than that, are you brave enough to stay with yourself while you become? If you or someone you know needs help, contact the Tears Foundation on 08000 83277, 24/7, free and confidential. If this meant anything to you, if it touched you or made you learn and grow, then maybe you want to like, follow, or share it with someone who might need it. I'll see you next week. Be brave enough.